product manager at the machine learning sector of the Hootsuite. And they're here to talk about the social data analytics. So please welcome Jana and Hunter.
Thanks, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. Can you hear me now? Yes. Hello. I wanted to start by saying thanks for being here, giving up your Sunday to participate in this event. I wanted to say thanks to GDG organizers for organizing this, bringing us together for an action-packed weekend. Without further ado, we get started. So there we go. So what we've got in store for you, this is the second year that we host this event. And I've had an opportunity to talk to a few of you. And I know that we've got a combination of new software developers, experienced software developers. We've got technology pundits, people who are interested in product management. So it's a mix in the audience. So we put together a set of content that I'm hoping there'll be something for each one of you and that you will find interesting. We'll start with an overview of Hootsuite product. I know everyone here is going to know about us, but not everyone knows what the product is and what it does. So I'll speak a little bit about that. And that provides context for Honto's section when he goes into a little bit of a deep dive of the use of machine learning in one of our product features. Also, I will take a step back and away from Hootsuite, and I'd like to say a few words about pitfalls, some of the pitfalls that we've seen when organizations adopt technology platforms around data analytics, and I've got a couple of recommendations for you guys to take away. And then we'll finish up with a quick look at our technology stack. All right, so first let me give you a little bit of a background on who I am and what I've been up to before now. As Kyle mentioned, I've got more than 20 years of experience in software development industry. I've worked across a whole set of large and small technology companies, multinationals here in the city, as well as in Europe and the US. Examples are MDA in Richmond, Electronic Arts, Amazon, NetApp. And I've also played many different hats, from being a hands-on developer for many years to being a game designer at Electronic Arts, a producer, a game producer. And at Amazon, I was a product manager, so I stepped to the other side and tried my hands at being a product manager, which was a great experience around learning hypothesis-driven development and really heavily leveraging data to come up with product ideas, and then measuring the effectiveness of those product features. And so with that, enough about me. Let's get into the content. Hootsuite as a product. So Hootsuite is, Hootsuite is a social media dashboard which helps our customers manage all of their social accounts in one place, and that's the power of it. Whether they are trying to manage their customer support activities on social channels, or whether they are looking at prospects and new business leads on social, Hootsuite provides an integrated set of tools that helps them manage however many social accounts they have. Especially on the higher end of the spectrum, some of our enterprise customers may have hundreds, if not thousands, of social accounts on all of the social channels, from Facebook to Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, you name it. And it becomes really unruly to manage them all, and Hootsuite allows them to manage it in one place. And then I'm going to go over 4 of the key 4 of the key most popular capabilities that Hootsuite provides. The first one is scheduling your social posts. And that's about allowing our customers in one sitting to create their content of their posts and schedule it on a calendar for days and weeks in advance. And then what happens is they can have 24/7 activity on their social accounts, even if they're not at their computer. And so this is one of our most popular features. Anything else about that? I'll move on to the next one. I don't know if this works or not. Managing social content. So content curation is the second biggest challenge our customers have. Coming up with the ideas about what their post should be about. Often companies need to make sure that whatever gets posted to their social accounts are on message and are on brand and have been pre-approved. So what Hootsuite does to help them do this is we allow them to create a set of pre-approved messages, a set of pre-approved photos and videos that they can store in a library and a file system of their choice on the cloud or wherever they have chosen. And so when the time comes for their employees to decide what they want to post, they can just draw on these content already available in the library to create their post and schedule it. And then next, this is near and dear to my heart. This is about this is a Hootsuite analytics functionality. And so what we do, what my team does, is we provide a set of features around reporting. And without this, it would be very difficult for our customers to know how effective their activities have been. All the social campaigns that they've come up with and all the hours that they've put in into managing their social activities, they need to know how effective they are. How do they compare with competition? How do they compare to previous period? Which pieces of content have been more successful and why? So anything around tracking data around their social content and their social activity, and then presenting that back to them in a way that it will help our customers become more effective in their social activity. That's what this set of tools is about. It helps our customers measure their return on investment in social. And then last but not least, monitoring. So far I've talked about content curation and scheduling, which is all about outgoing messages, right? This is about incoming messages. This is about everything that everyone is saying about your product, about your brand, things that people are saying about your competition or the industry. You can imagine there's a lot of social conversations that are going on at once, and it's overwhelming. It's really hard to know which are the conversations that are of interest to you that your company may need to take action on. If there's a fire burning or there's an opportunity growing, finding those conversations is a challenge, and that's what Hootsuite helps with. Also, before I move on, this is where customer support, social customer support comes in. Hantu will have a deeper dive into that, but that's also about when your customers want to talk to you, to your company, about your products and services. Hootsuite makes that, there's a set of tools that makes that a lot easier to manage. Thank you. So at this point, that's all I'm going to say about Hootsuite product. Hopefully it's given you a little bit more insight into what Hootsuite is. And then Hantu will go into more depth. But at this point, I want to switch gears and talk about data analytics platform, technology platforms in general. And what I wanted to say was, if there's a couple of things you take away from my talk today, this would be one of them, which is when it comes to the decision of what technology platform your company wants to adopt. We've seen this trap that a lot of organizations fall into, which is they put technology before customer value. And by that I mean there's been a lot of hype around big data. There's been a lot of hype around machine learning. There are a number of different technology vendors. Of course, Google is an emerging one. There is Amazon, Microsoft, and many others. And I've often observed that organizations that realize the importance of data and data analytics don't always know where to start. They know that it's strategic. They know that their future success depends on it, but they don't know where to start. And often they think they need to start with the technology. So they grab the latest and the greatest tech. They might create a hodgepodge of technology stacks. Not only that, it's really easy to find yourself sitting on top of a really large data warehouse and data lake. You've gathered all this data, and before knowing how you're going to use that data. So, if you could move on to the next one, then. So, if I can then turn that around, how do you avoid doing this? Well, actually, you can go to the next slide. Is you start with the question. You start with understanding what's the business use case you're trying to solve. You first try and think about what is it about your customers that you need to understand better in order to provide a better service, in order to provide a differentiated product for them. So start with the question of what is it I'm trying to find out about my customer? How can I get closer to my customer using data? And then figure out what data do you need for that. And then a third step is, okay, what's the best technology for gathering that data, for storing that data, for analyzing that data? But that's like the third step. So as an insights-driven organization, and this is a term that's being coined in the industry, it's the companies that are going to do well are the companies that very much realize the power of data, but they have clarity of mind about how that data is going to help them provide better services. So, and I believe even in this room, I know we are technologists. This is a DevFest, but it is, I think it's our responsibility to make sure that our employers or our customers start with the business use case. And not only that, this is a second takeaway coming up here in the power of analytics and where machine learning comes in is moving away from creating reports for the executives and moving a lot closer to the end of the spectrum where the insights that you can draw from the data is actually built in, embedded into the workflow of the user. So as a day-to-day, as they go through their day, making decisions, those decisions are actually data-informed. And a couple of examples. So this is what I'm calling data-to-action closed loop. So they take an action. You've got the plumbing to capture the data. Once you've got a collection of data, you do the analysis and come up with insights and recommendations that can then, the user can base their decision on what is the next action they're going to take. As an example, we can think of the end of the spectrum that is mature and well-known. Netflix's movie recommendations, right? So they capture data about what movies you watched and what everybody else has watched. They make a recommendation about what movies you want to watch. The user then is more confident about selecting which movie they want to watch based on the recommendations. And that action, whether you finished watching the movie, whether you give it a thumbs up or down, becomes data again that goes around the loop. And you can think about the same kind of mechanism around Amazon's product recommendations, Google's ad A/B testing. I don't know how familiar you are, but if you've ever done any advertising on Google Ads, you can create a number of different variations, and then Google Ads platform will tell you which one has been more effective in terms of conversion, and then you can put more of your ad dollars behind that one. So that's where the loop comes in. And an example of how Hootsuite does it, we understand this principle, and we want to make sure that the analytics that we are generating isn't just like weekly or monthly reports that gets sent to you, although that's very useful in improving your ROI. But the real power of analytics is when those insights are made available to you, to the users, when they are making a decision about their daily activities. So it's a really good example of use of machine learning within Hootsuite that Hanto is going to go into next. Over to you, Hanto. Yeah.
All right. So my name is Hanto Ming. This is a little bit about me. I'm the product manager at Hootsuite. My portfolio is in machine learning. So basically, I look and see where I can apply machine learning to inside the product to help solve some of our customers' problems. I'm a local boy. I had about 10 years experience from software development to project management, dabbled a little bit in data science. I worked at IT in a pulp mill. And finally, I landed here at Hootsuite doing product management. Got my education here too at SFU. Got a bachelor's business administration, then finished off with a master's in computing science. And yeah, if you want to know more about me, you can, I guess that's my Twitter handle. I'm not very active on there, but if you want to know a little bit more about me, just come and ask me after the presentation. So what I'm going to talk about today is social customer service. By the looks of the crowd, people here aren't really familiar with actually going to the store to get customer service. I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember if you had a problem with your phone line, you would go up to the TELUS building, go to a TELUS store and ask for about service. But now, the paradigm has shifted, from in-person, now to phone, to email, and finally to messaging like in China, WeChat, and on social, Facebook and Facebook Messenger. Some studies that were done, I believe Adweek did a study a while ago that says about half the people that they surveyed prefer to use social as a means of, as a channel for customer service. And it's actually really beneficial to the companies too. McKinsey did a study and they say that roughly for each customer service request on social, it costs about on average $1 to complete that request, which is roughly about a sixth of what it would cost on the phone. So yeah, social customer service and Hootsuite, our play in social customer service is what we call inbox. It's a single area where all your different social channels, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, is available in one spot. So you can handle all those different social channels. I'm not really going to talk that much into the into the use of inbox because this theme is about analytics. So what I'm going to talk about is how our customers collect data through inbox to generate analytics. So one of the things that our customers really want is to be able to figure out what their end customers are trying to contact them about. So for example, one of our customers in the public transportation sector, they need to tag every single conversation they have with their end customers with one of, I think, about over 50 tags. So some of the examples are, driver attitude. I'm sure if anybody's taken a bus might have gotten a kind of a surly driver once in a while. Their facilities, obviously the bus is being late, fares, apps, and things like that. So if you think about it, if you have hundreds to thousands of messages and requests coming in and you got to tag each one of them with one of over 50 tags, it's a bit of a problem. So what did we do to help them out? So we applied machine learning. We trained a machine learning model on historic tagging data. So every single one of our customers have a different set of tags that they use, and we created a model for each one of them. And so what happens is that once we train that model, we surface, if you can see over there, the suggested tags, the top 3 tags that we think should apply to that conversation up to the agent as they're working in inbox. So it makes them easier, it makes it easier for them to tag messages. Before, what we did was we just surfaced the most recently used tags, and I think as Kiana talked about doing some A/B testing, we tested this. We tested with some of our customers with this machine learning powered one, and the other one just our baseline with the most recent tags, and we noticed about a 20% increase in tags suggestion acceptance rates. So this being a dev conference, I'm not going to be able to get away without talking about architecture and actually things that to do with technology. So this was actually our first machine learning powered service. And so we had to build a whole machine learning pipeline from the ground up. At Hootsuite, we run on microservices architecture. I believe we're how close, I don't know how close we are. 75% by the end of the year, we want all of our services to be running on Kubernetes. So all the services, when they talk to each other, we have an event bus based on Kafka. And we take the messages that we have a data ingestion service running on Kubernetes that listens for the events that we want. I think as Kiana alluded to, we don't just collect everything, we only collect things that we feel we have a need for. It takes that, so the data ingestion service listens for events on Event Bus, dumps it into a raw bucket in S3. I know this is a Google conference, but unfortunately we're heavily invested in AWS. And also, as it dumps data into there, it catalogs the data in Elasticsearch cluster. One is to be able to find the data we're looking for at the end, and then two is very important, is we're fully GDPR compliant, so you can tell us if you want your data out of our data lake, we will delete it within 30 days. Second, we have Spark Job that takes all this data and transforms it into a format and shape that is available for data scientists to explore the data on and also to train machine learning models on. And that dumps it into a second bucket, number 4, into a process production data bucket. And then we actually use this really good platform, and maybe some of you guys may be able to tell me that there's something similar in the Google Cloud platform, but we use AWS SageMaker, which is the best way I can describe it is it takes care of all the plumbing for you when you train and deploy machine learning models. One really cool feature is that with just one command, you can take a trained model and expose it as in a REST API and a REST endpoint. Unfortunately, that endpoint doesn't talk well with the rest of our services, so we put another facade service, number 9, that acts as a service that performs inference for you. That, in turn, talks to other services in the Hootsuite, and then we generate more data to see how our model is performing to collect more data and close that loop back to the event bus, and we collect more data. One more thing I'll talk about from the machine learning perspective. It was a pretty interesting problem because if you think about it, a message can be tagged with multiple tags. So it was actually a multi-label, multi-classification problem, which is not very common if you look into the literature that's out there. So we did a little bit of research, and what we did was we took the text, we transformed it with TF-IDF, and then we actually applied some Bayesian statistics on there to get what we call a I forgot exactly what we called it, but it was a Bayesian. Basically, we transformed it twice before we actually fed each one into a binary classification model that said tag or no tag, and then our result was top 3 suggestions that met a certain threshold. If you want to ask me more about the actual machine learning part of it, I'll hang around for a little bit after our presentation. I'm more than happy to talk about that with you. And back to Kiana.
Thanks, Santo. So I'll finish up with one more slide, which is just a summary of all the technology used for Hootsuite analytics piece of the core product. For those of you who are now, this is always like interesting to know what technologies other companies are using if you're trying to decide what tech to pick up or master in. Our event bus is based on Kafka, which is a messaging system. Our data pipeline, as Hanto alluded to, it's a polling system, and we poll all of the social networks on behalf of our customers, collect the data, put it on the event bus. Any one of the internal services can subscribe to the type of event that they're interested in. And then we store the analytics product, stores the data in MongoDB, which is a NoSQL key value pair data storage. For older data, we offload to S3 for cost reasons, and then for text search, we use Elasticsearch. In our research, there is no better product in terms of performance when it comes to text search. In terms of programming languages, the bulk of our code base overall still remains PHP. Although we picked up Golang as our language of choice for our microservices. And Python is heavily leveraged within the analytics product. Our front end is JavaScript. We take full advantage of React and Redux. We fully embrace continuous integration and deployment. And we love Docker in terms of our containerization technology. We are aiming to have 75% of our services onto Kubernetes by the end of the year. And we are still heavily we are like primarily, 100% on AWS, although we have been running explorations of on like just evaluating Google Cloud for future use, although there are no current plans at the moment. And with that, that's all we had in store for you. Would love to.
One slide that was like the whole architecture with the pipeline.
The one before this.
Yeah, this one. So like in this particular picture, did you actually package the Spark to run on the top of Kubernetes, or it's running on its own?
No, it's not on Kubernetes. We looked at that. We are too busy putting our other services on Kubernetes right now. And the Spark one, we investigated if we were going to do it. We think it's possible, but we just haven't had the chance to do it yet. So it's a standalone job.
And what else would I like to ask? What is like the experience? I believe you're using MXNet as a backend, right? Here for the
No. So if you listen to when I described our machine learning model, it's actually quite simple. It's what I call cheap learning. It's not deep learning. We're just using scikit-learn and for logistic regression for each one of those binary models, and it's just other Python, pandas, and things like that to transform the data. All that stuff is one thing that's cool about Amazon SageMaker. And maybe there's some product people here from Google that might want some feedback on like a machine learning platform, is that all that stuff is really packaged. There's AMI images that have everything set up for you. It's got MXNet, it's got TensorFlow, and it's all built in over there, so we don't have to worry as much about finding the right packages and stuff. But we just use scikit-learn, lots of pandas, NumPy, your standard, those standard libraries. We are looking into see for our next project. It has a bit more to do about conversations, not just the tagging. Then we're going to try to explore whether MXNet would be a good option. My feeling is because Amazon's putting all their backing behind MXNet, that it'll be supported well, but it's one of those decisions that we'll make when we get there.
Can you please tell just how did you partition people, like head count on this particular, because Kafka, lots of people say, it's difficult to configure, right, and maintain. Maybe it's not the case, but like, how many people you have like maintaining Kafka, how many people you have like, just like rough count?
Yeah, we haven't really had. I can't say that we've had any trouble, any negative experiences around using Kafka as our event bus. Right now, we are in terms of how many people are supporting it. We are just going over. The way we are organized is we have 4 product portfolios, very similar along the lines that I described, and then we have a platform team of engineers, which basically share any shared technology they're responsible for. And within that platform team, there are smaller teams. So Kafka would fall into the scope of one of the teams. Go ahead. So I don't know, time check, do we have time? Are we over?
Well,
we're going to be around, so.
Yeah, so.
Here, you can take this.
Thank you, Kiana and Honto, for the wonderful illustration of technologies that use in Hootsuite. Give them a round of applause.